Amazing. And we go to another generation now, a legend, I think is fair to say when it comes to Reach, because I'm just going to read out just some of the things that he's done. Reach Ambassador, Active Disability Rights Campaigner, Chairman of Crediton Town Council, that's in Devon, by the way, for those of you who don't know. For the last 12 years he's been doing that, also was Mayor. He told me this morning he's now also on the County Council, so there's no chance of him starting to stop work and doing nothing. He organised the very first Reach Activity Weekend. He's been awarded the MBE for his services to people with disabilities and to the wider community in Crediton as well. He's today going to be talking about being yourself. Would you please welcome the one and only Mr. Frank Letch.
You're gonna like how you feel. You're gonna like how you feel. Can you believe this is real? When you're
I have no slides, but I have a prop bag. I'll just unload it first. Can I do the plug as the first bit of the prop bag? Over the last many years, I've been writing my autobiography, which I decided to write myself. And that was a joke, but you haven't obviously got it. And here it is, and it's called Just in Case. It's written for my children, for my grandchildren, and for the children and parents of Reach, because I think it will be particularly useful over the years to come. It comes in at a grand price because I've had it produced locally in Crediton for £6, and it's 278 pages of wisdom. That wasn't a joke. I have brought a few copies along, and I intend to sign them free of charge, of course, after 4 o'clock. I do implore you, I don't do PayPal, I don't do anything modern, I do cash. So if you have got the right money, £6, that will be absolutely wonderful. And as I say, I will sign it. I'm going to sign this one, and as you can see, in fact, I have signed this one, and I'm going to give it, if I may, as a raffle prize for this afternoon. But don't not buy one just because you think you might win this one in the raffle. Don't be mean. So there you are. So would somebody like to collect that at the end? Then they can. Thank you, Alistair. So I've called my talk, if I can call it that, Being Myself. I wasn't always like this. When I was born, I was a lot smaller. But, thank you. I like this lady at the front. She's really going to smile and laugh all the way through. But I had a little thumb. And if you look carefully, there's a scar, which must be, in old money, 4.5 inches long. And what it was is some specialist in December 1944, yes, I know, I'm 78, don't worry, I've worked it out, decided to take off that thumb because it might get in the way of a prosthesis. That was the first intervention on my life by the authorities. And it went on until I was 19. Not always so overtly as that, and not always just the authorities. When I was 5, I was persuaded, or at least my parents were persuaded, to let me have, or make me have, an artificial arm. It was useless. But they were happy. Everybody who was around me was happy because the empty sleeve on the left was filled. The only person who wasn't particularly happy was exactly me. When I was 9, or maybe 8, I was sent to Roehampton to get something called a split hook. This was I was there for 2 weeks. I was the only child. All the people there were ex-servicemen, most of them with missing legs, and they were in there for corrective surgery because the scar had broken down and so on and so forth. And I was given this split hook, which allowed me to do some very important things. One was to eat by turning the foot that way. The other one was to undo my zip to go for a pee. And the third one was to write. As soon as I got back to school, they tried to make me use that to write, and I objected, but I was forced until the age of 12 to write with this artificial arm. I eventually gave it up. So in my life, I needed to find how to get rid of this artificial arm, which was being imposed upon me, And the most important things it could do was to help me to feed and to go for a pee. And I'm going to show you how I do both. No, don't get worried. Don't get worried. No, these are the props to show you. So the first prop, believe it or not, so instead of the artificial arm and hook, I've got a friend called Pat. You can guess what he is. Yeah, he's a postman. Yeah. He's got a black and white cat. So he gave me this, and we fiddled about. So, yippee. I can feed myself. And this has great advantages. First of all, it's not at the end of a very heavy prosthesis, it's on my arm. And I can feel it, and I can waggle it. And look, I can even get into my mouth with my eyes. I know I've got a big mouth, but I can still do it with my eyes closed. So that was the first thing. Always walk around with an elastic band. So, now what about cutting up food? Well, I can cut up food, but I was taught a wonderful lesson abroad. The foreigners are much better with us than Brits. And I was in the Mer Poulard, a very famous restaurant in France, but stupidly, I'd ordered a langouste grillée, which to you who don't speak French is a grilled lobster. So we had a real lobster come along, and there were 6, and I chose my one, poor thing, it's put to death. Okay, and I suddenly saw the table next to me. They were also having grilled lobster, and a carpentry set came along. I thought, oh my God, what? So I asked them, ça c'est pour sortir la chair. That's to take out the meat. Oh, I thought, blooming heck, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So I didn't, better than I said, it's fine. So when they came along with my friend, they gave him the set of carpentry tools. They gave him his lobster. And then she came along with mine and said, Monsieur, chef has taken the liberty, listen to these words, the liberty of taking all the meat out of the shell. I hope that's okay. And I thought, of course that's okay. Blooming heck. So tell the kids in reach, don't struggle with cutting up food. Don't do it yourself and make it look difficult. Just say to them, by the way, could chef please cut up the steak before it comes to table? Chefs love helping you. And they love being thanked. And very often when I do, and I order some very difficult things, you see, it's freed me up. I can eat what I want. I don't have to eat sort of macaroni cheese, because I don't like cheese. But I remember we went to a school, Natalia and I went to a school, and a little boy there, he refused pie and chips, and he had macaroni cheese. I thought, blooming heck, that's an unusual boy. He refused dessert because it was an ice cream in a tub, until Natalia said to him, look, if I got that tub of ice cream and put the ice cream in a dish, would you choose? Yes. The headmaster was on our table. I said, now, can you see what you're failing him, how you're failing him? You're not looking into him and seeing, what does he need? And it's so easy. So that's freed me up. So, yes, I'm going to come round to the pee thing, don't worry. So I needed to think, what do I need to do? I'm talking about being outside now, not at home. There's no problem at home. I just walk around naked all the time. No, I do. My wife says she's such an exhibitionist. Yeah. The neighbours are quite pleased, mind you. So I carry around with me my magic stick. It's an old coat hanger. With this, now I always go in, and I think Richie was talking about this disabled. I always go into a disabled loo, and you'll think, what can't this poor loo do? Can't it flush? But of course, it's an easy access loo. And the reason I go into it is because it's got a sink. Did you know? Go into them just out of curiosity. They've always got a sink. Now, with the sink, I can rub my zip against the zip, the sink, down comes the zip. I was at a meeting once at WI, and some old lady came and said, Frank Durst is such a proper deputy. Frank said, I can see how you undo your zips, but how would you get your willy out? I said, I'm not going to show you. But with the stick. Oh, right. And then, of course, you just do it back up again. And just put this in your sleeve of your coat or... So there again, I'm free of this artificial arm, and I could be me. I could do what I want. that was good. I've had several careers, and what I want to tell you, I don't know how much time I've got, Alison, what I want to tell you as parents is let your children be ambitious. Let them climb Everest. I can't climb Everest. I've never tried, but I have walked up the Arran, which is the second highest mountain in Wales. Let them set themselves hard tasks. Even in failure, you learn. They learn, and you learn. Let them have wide horizons. If I had my time again, yes, I would be a husband. Yes, I would be a father. Yes, possibly I'd be a teacher, But I don't think I'd stay in it as long as I did, because there are things out there that are so much more engaging and exciting. I'm a county councillor and I'm on the Children's Scrutiny Committee, and we are at the moment just finishing off a paper about special educational needs and disability, SEND. And the great problems we have are something called EHCPs, Educational Health Care Plans. And the great lack, social workers and educational psychologists. Get your children thinking about these roles, because you don't need to be, you need to be mentally capable, you need to be emotionally capable, and your children are, because they are tough. They're tougher than you. I can tell you that for nothing, because I know I'm tougher than my people. On my book, you'll see a picture of my mum. She died 2 months ago. Not sad, she was 102. But she had no help whatsoever. I didn't come into contact with Reach until 1992, when I went up to Manchester, and I have a lovely story. The first Reach meet I went to was in Manchester, and they were having a musical session. And during the session, one little boy popped his head and said, "Mum, my arm's dropped off." "What shall I do?" "Oh, try and put it back on. If you can't, just stick it in my shopping bag." That's the sort of language you hear in Reach. We are very blasé. We don't care. We don't get upset. We don't get uptight. I always think, I don't know if you've ever read or watched the West Side Story. There's a lovely phrase in it. "Hey, fellas," when Officer Cubcree is running this guy down. "Hey, fellas, I've got a social disease." He doesn't mean, crabs or anything like that. He means, no, thank you, darling. Thank you for recognizing that. He meant a social disease. And I think, I've got a disease. I've got a social disease. Thing is, I'm immune. I just seem to give it to lots of other people. Because when I walk into a restaurant to sit down, their knives and forks go down. And he's going to say, how's he going to manage that? You can see it going through their heads. And it's not my embarrassment. I'm never embarrassed. And tell your children you don't need to be. Be proud. Be proud of being different. Because, the more different you are, in a sense, the more difficult it becomes. You will understand me as having been mayor actually for 13 years, Alistair. When I walk down the street at home, everybody says, "Morning, Frank." Believe it or not, I don't know who all 8,000 people are. Unfortunately, they do. And you'll be here. You'll know who I am, because you've only got one new face to remember, one new name to put to it. And I'll be boastful, I am pretty memorable. I mean, how many people do you know have only got this? Not many. And so this is why I think it's very important to be comfortable with yourself and to be able to be yourself. My other careers that I would love to pursue is, at the moment, I am, as I say, on the council, but I do work with Reach with Disability Living Allowance and PIP. I don't give advice, because if you give advice and people say that's your advice and it doesn't go right, they have something to come back with. What I give you is information with facts, and I give you the choice of sorting out the facts as to what you want to do with your child. The first thing I'll tell you is, if you're claiming disability living allowance, you are saying your child is disabled. Now, do you want to say that? If you don't mind saying that, carry on. So I'm there to help people who go to that third stage, which is the appeal stage. I'm a great appealer. I love speaking. I love defending people. And in fact, on the 9th of November, I'm at a educational transport appeal for a little guy I've never met his mum, but they've heard about me. And the local authority has suddenly taken away his transport. And this boy has, he has autism, and he needs to go to this school that is going down the way. I would say with your children, education is madly important. Please make sure that they are as wide in their choice as possible. One of the great crimes we have in Britain is, by the time they're 16, they're narrowed down to 3 subjects, maybe 4. Go to France and you do 8 until the age of 18, which gives you far more width, and you can do choices far later, and I think with far more insight than you can when you're 14, and I have to say, normally pushed by your teachers, particularly if you're good at a subject. They never seem to see the joined-up curriculum, and that's what you need to do. So as I say, as parents, push them, help them, don't be worried, and let them set themselves high targets. If they fail, pick them up again. They will have learnt, you would have learnt. If there are any questions, I'm here, and I'll be out signing the book for those few people who would like one. Well, I don't know, do I? I brought 6 at 4 o'clock. But it's such a joy to be here, Alistair. Thank you.
We're going to take questions now, but for the moment, Frank Letch. And if this is your first Reach Family Weekend, you now know why he is the legend that is Frank Letch. Love your perspective, love your honesty, and just the approach. Do you have any books available by any chance?
Just this one.
Just this one.
But no, you jest, maybe not.
No, enough about the book.
No, I'm writing. I've just finished. I finished it 19 years ago. I wrote 6 stories for the girl next door called Imogen, so that her mum could read them to her for bedtime. And I suddenly decided, I found a friend of mine who's going to illustrate them, and my local print, who's done this one as well, are going to bring it out probably Christmas, maybe later. And it's called The Gypsy King, because my grandmother was a gypsy, and I'm a king.
And by the way, Frank is going to be around all day,
Absolutely.
all evening,
Yeah.
and tomorrow morning. So do catch him, just in case you want to get a book, but also to hear some of his stories and his incredible wisdom and his experiences. And it's fair to say that thankfully life is very, very different today than it was when you were growing up. We have got time for just a couple of burning questions, if anybody has them, on Slido, or again, make yourself known if you're in the room to anybody who's got a microphone. Otherwise, I will ask a question. Yeah, we have one at the back there. If you just make yourself known again, somebody's got a microphone down the side where you were. I think I saw somebody towards the back. No? Frank, just in terms of, you've been with Reach all these years.
Since 1992.
And looking forward, what would you like for people here today, especially new families? How do you see the future of Reach? What would you like people to be doing in the future?
2 things. I would like to see a reinvigoration of the local branches, because the more number of branches you have, the more likelihood it is that people will be able to travel to Reach events. It is very important that your children and you meet other people from the Reach family.
Yep, great advice. Okay, brilliant. And we've got one comment, I think, coming up. Looking to see where it is. It's coming up. We've got, at what age did you develop such resilience? What a question. What age? How old were you?
I was probably 19 3/4.
You know what? There's a whole conversation there.
It was at university. When I started university in 1963, I was elected as the first-year representative on the Cercle Français, the French circle. I then, the next year, became its treasurer, and 2 years after that, I became its chairman. So I think it's university.
That was your moment,
Yeah.
yeah. And university, we're going to hear a little bit more about university from Ella and others a little bit later on. For the moment, what an amazing individual. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Frank Letch.
Thank you.
You're gonna
I'll leave it.
like
I'm going to take that.